Most organizations will have some type of ticketing system, especially if they have a lot of people that need support from the information technology team. These ticketing systems are useful because they allow you to document all of the issues that might be occurring. You can assign any issues to individuals in the organization. So network-related problems would be assigned to the network team, server-related problems to the server team, and so on. You can also use this ticketing system to help resolve problems. We'll talk in this video about how to make that happen. And if you'd like an overview of how your organization is handling these issues and how quickly they're able to resolve these problems, you can create reports based on the information stored in this ticketing system. The help desk is usually the group that manages and maintains all of the tickets for anyone who needs assistance with their technology requirements. This will be the group that will take the phone calls, that will sift through all of the emails, and might even take text messages in order to understand where problems might be occurring in your organization. The help desk is then responsible for triaging these issues, so they'll be able to determine which issues have priority over others and which ones can be handled by the help desk and which issues should be handed off to a different department. They'll use their information about the infrastructure and the resources available to determine the best next step to be able to resolve this issue. They'll ultimately assign a ticket to this problem and provide ongoing monitoring to make sure that this issue is handled in a timely form. There are many different kinds of ticketing systems out there, but they are all very similar in the way they work, the information that they are storing, and the overall process that's used on any particular ticketing system. In this video, we'll take some common support scenarios, and we'll use a ticketing system to understand how that might help us. The quantity and the quality of the information that you're taking during the initial ticket creation can have a dramatic impact on how quickly you can resolve these problems. The information gathering phase happens right at the beginning of the ticket creation process. We need to understand exactly which user is asking for this problem to be resolved and what device this particular issue may be associated with. We then want a problem description, and ideally this will give us all of the information necessary to understand what the next steps might be. We'll then get a description of the problem, and we'll try to determine what the best next steps will be based on this description. The ticket will then be assigned a specific category. This problem may be associated with a network configuration, so we'll assign it into the networking category. Or it may be someone who's having a problem with the login process, so we'll assign that to the login name or authentication category. We'll also assign a severity to this problem. If this issue happens to affect many people with a very critical role in the organization, it might have a higher priority than someone who needs something that can be done over the next 7 days. And many organizations will have an escalation policy, so they'll be able to determine if a particular problem should be provided a higher level severity than others. And based on all of the information we're gathering, we can understand if an escalation to a higher severity is required for this particular problem. One of the key fundamentals with really any help desk is making sure that all of this communication is clear and concise. You'll probably not be the only person looking at this ticket, so you need to make sure that you have a very good description of the problem. You have progress notes that you can reference and add to as the problem is proceeding, and you have resolution details at the end so that anyone else who runs into this problem can see exactly the process you took and what the final resolution was. During the very first interaction as this ticket is being created, it's important to assign the ticket to the correct user. And sometimes this is more than one person. You could have one person who's actually experiencing the problem and another person who's calling in on their behalf. It might be important to clarify who the contact person will be for this ticket so that all of the people that are involved in this process know exactly who they should be communicating with. Often you'll be pulling up a list of everyone in the organization from a central view, and very often this is integrated into an existing name service. So if your organization is using Microsoft Active Directory, all of the names in the help desk will be integrated to exactly the same names of all of your employees in your Active Directory database. Sometimes these names are added automatically. If someone is sending in a text message or an email, the contact information is pulled from the email address that's associated with the message or the phone number that's associated with the text message. And although most help desks strive to make sure that their list of employees is as accurate as possible, there are times when changes take place and perhaps the database is not completely up to date. It's always a good idea to confirm with the person calling about the issue that you really do have the right name and the right contact information to add to the ticket. I'm on the main screen of my ticketing system. You can see a number of tickets are open. You can see a summary of those tickets, who's been reporting this issue, and who the tickets have been assigned to. This person is calling in and saying that they're having problems logging in to the intranet page. Their username and their password is not working properly. So based on that information, we can say that this is a traditional service request and not some type of system outage or post-incident review. Now we need to define what type of problem this is. We have a request type field that has a number of different types. We can fix an account problem, get a guest Wi-Fi account. There's a new mobile device option. For this particular issue, we know when speaking with the customer that their problem is using the username and password to be able to log in to the intranet page. So we'll say that the problem is associated with fixing an account problem. We're going to then specify who this request is for. And in this particular case, this request is for the person who's calling in. His name is Daniel, so we'll type DAN and it fills in the rest, and it has already found that user's name in our database. In the summary, we need to provide some type of view that will tell us what this ticket is about. And we could say that it's problems logging into intranet 01, which is the name of the intranet server. We also have a description box that provides us with a great deal of information that we can add into this ticket. This is where we can put specific details about this problem, what information they saw. We can attach different screenshots, and we can add additional details that will help the recipient of the ticket be able to troubleshoot this problem a little bit better without having to contact the end user. When we hit the Create button, it provides us with information that says that we have created a new work item, and we can even view that item to confirm that everything that we added into that ticket is correct. The information that we're gathering during this initial ticket creation can be important to understand the scope of the issue. For example, we might want to add device information. Is this problem with a laptop or is this problem with an external mouse? The resolution to this problem will be very different depending on what the device is. We've already seen the description field in the ticket, and we can see that there is a lot of room to put information into the ticket itself. We want to provide as much information as we can to make this problem as clear and concise as possible. We're probably going to assign this ticket to someone else in the organization, so it'd be nice to have plenty of information in that description field that they can read through during their troubleshooting process. It's usually in this description field where we might put recommendations on what the next steps might be. There might be a note that we need to call the user back for additional information. Maybe we need to associate this problem with a larger event that might be occurring, or perhaps we're assigning this ticket to another person in another department who's better equipped to solve this problem. It's also important to add a category to the ticket. This is a very broad description of what this particular issue is associated with. For example, this could be a change request, and change requests probably have their own category. Or this might be someone having a problem with their mouse, so this might be a hardware request. Or perhaps we received a ticket from HR saying that they have hired a new person, so this might be an onboarding request. Each of these would have their own category, and those categories might be assigned to a specific individual in the organization. Each ticket is also assigned a severity. This could be a low severity, a critical severity, or perhaps a medium or high that might be in the middle. The decision on what the severity might be could be based on a number of different predefined criteria. If someone's calling in with a hardware problem and they're a member of a specific department, they might have a critical severity. But if the same problem is reported by someone in a different department, it might be a medium severity. And often these tickets are being handed off to someone else to take care of. This is an escalation to a different group. This might be someone who is a specialist in this particular problem, or it may be a group of people that handle these types of problems for the organization. For example, if it's a network problem, we can associate this with the network team. If the issue is related to a Linux server, then we can escalate this problem to the Linux administration team. Back in our ticketing system, let's see how these categories might help us. There is a request type pull down here, and we can see that a number of different categories are listed. For example, we can have one that is a generic Get IT Help category. Maybe we are fixing an account problem. We just created a ticket with that particular category, setting up a VPN to the office, onboarding new employees, and so on. We can also use these categories for filtering. So if we want to see get a guest Wi-Fi account, we can choose that as our filter, and we can list out all of the tickets associated with that category. In this case, we have one requesting Wi-Fi access for a vendor. You can see that this is a request that came in via the portal. There's the description, which is an on-site vendor requires temporary guest access to Wi-Fi for a visit next week. And then you have details about the request type here. There's the Get Guest Wi-Fi account. And because this is something that is with an important vendor who's coming in to take care of a problem, and they're going to be here for a week, and we only have a short period of time to create this ticket, it has been assigned a priority of highest. And this ticket might even have additional details that tell us that this vendor is coming in to solve a problem that's been occurring over a long period of time. And since they are visiting next week, this has been assigned a priority of highest so that this ticket will be addressed before the vendor arrives. With some tickets, there will be multiple people who access this ticket, take action on the problem that's occurring, and continue with the troubleshooting process over a number of days or weeks. When that occurs, we need to make sure that we have progress notes that are constantly added to the ticket so we know everything that was done along the way and who happened to perform those functions. For really difficult problems, this can create a lot of documentation to read through, so it's important that the progress notes have important details included in the notes, but you keep that information concise that you're able to read through relatively quickly. As new information is found and other troubleshooting takes place, we will add that information to the existing progress notes for this ticket. We often think that solving the problem is the end of that particular issue, but in reality, we still have documentation to write up on what we did to resolve the problem. This is because we might run into this problem a year from now, and we might want to look through our notes to understand what we did to finally resolve the issue. Even if this ticket is assigned to someone else, they'll be able to look through the problem resolution of an earlier ticket to understand what you did to solve the problem. Here's an example of how documenting this information across many different people can help the overall troubleshooting process. Let's look at a problem that someone is having about logging into the VPN. This ticket describes an issue where our team is unable to log in to the Sydney VPN. That certainly is a problem, so this ticket has been assigned the category of reporting a system problem, and it has been assigned a priority of medium. You'll also notice that in this ticket, our ticketing system has provided additional work items. There are other tickets that were previously created that are linked to this ticket. And if we read through them, we can see there is a duplicate. For example, someone else has reported a VPN outage, so this may not be just this user who's having this problem. You'll also notice there is a ticket in here describing an upgrade to the Sydney VPN, probably because of all of the issues that people are having connecting to the VPN. And if we look at additional linked items, we can see that all of this is related to recurring Sydney VPN access errors in the last 60 days. By compiling all of these tickets and linking these together, we can see a trend that has occurred over the last 60 days of VPN problems, and that trend justifies the cost associated with the ongoing VPN upgrade. All of these different departments working together using this single ticketing system can provide a much more efficient and better cost-effective way of solving these very problematic issues.